Welcome back to WagerTalk.com. We've taken a couple weeks off, but we're ready. Football's just around the corner. I'm joined in studio with Ralph Michaels. Ralph, I got to tell you, you outdid yourself this time. We're just launching the NFL preseason guide. I got my hands on it last night to prep for the videos today, what you put together. And you've done great work with everything you've done, but this one here, I really love the NFL preseason guide. Tell the listeners about it, and the best part, right now, they can get it for free.
Yeah, you know, it's for those that don't know my history, going back to Northcoast Sports and the Power Sweep newsletter, we used to give preseason away to all of our customers, a way to build a bankroll and try to get them to sign up for September in the year. So our entire effort was put into preseason, and you know, I've learned from that. I've grown. I've expanded what I used to do at Northcoast, doing their preseason selections, and just put everything that I wanted to see into it on paper in an easy-to-read format.
I pulled out a few pages of it, and the entire guide is how many pages? It was 40-some, I think.
Yeah.
And it's just, you know, and you got a page for each team, so that's why there's so many pages there. But it's in a PDF downloadable form, very easy. One of the first pages that jumped out to me, and this was, you know, thanks in part, the odds were courtesy of our good friends at CG Technology, Matt Holt, Jason Simbel. You've got last year's records, points, you know, home and away, division. You've got the season win totals for this year. It's nice to see, looking at a glance, all the divisions, what the season win totals are, then to see, you know, the odds, what they opened up for to win the division, to win the conference, and to win the Super Bowl. It's nice, it's layout, and it's one page, because as the season progresses, you always wonder, hey, what was the opening line on this? And, you know, is there value maybe to jump on this team now? Maybe they started slow and you want to buy a future in season. I love this page.
Yeah, you know, for those that are deciding where the value is, I mean, you look at a division odds and the Super Bowl odds. If you're getting over half of what your Super Bowl odds, it's a good play for you to play that into division. If you're not, perhaps you go to the Super Bowl and you can always hedge it back. So it certainly is. And then it also shows you, I think there's 3 teams which moved at least a half a game since the opener in that page.
And it's nice to see where the, you know, because let's face it, the average, we want to call them squares, the average player, the public, they're not jumping and putting big money in on these type of wagers and have their money tied up for 4 or 5 months. No. It's the sharps that are doing it. So Absolutely. You like to see what their initial reaction is. You also have a page that I like is you have the preseason leaders from last year, where you could see what guys, you know, who had the passing yards, who had the rushing yards, receiving yards, see the key personnel and how much they played in what they did with the team. So it's always good. You get a feel of the coaches that way of, you know, how long they're playing certain players. I like this page and thought behind it.
You know, well, that's just taking from going from the team pages into that. When you look at your quarterback and quarterback rotations are very misleading, because regardless of your rotation, it matters how much a quarterback plays. That translates into the team pages. When you look at our team pages, I think the most vital stat you have out of the whole guide, 2 things. Coaching changes and OC and DC changes. When you're going through and you see how a team progresses, I bolded and I made coaching changes red, so you can see every OC and DC coaching change there is. And also the last 4 years, it has their entire preseason stat box. So at a glance, let me give you 2 quick examples. The Chicago Bears this year have 4 quarterbacks on their roster: Mike Glennon, Mitchell Trubisky, Mark Sanchez, and Connor Shaw. Over the last 4 years, of all 4 quarterbacks they have this year, Connor Shaw is the only one who played for the Bears. He played 1 season, and he was 11 of 16. This year, 3 new quarterbacks and Connor Shaw. Carolina Panthers, 3 quarterbacks on their roster: Derek Anderson, Cam Newton, Joe Webb. Each of those quarterbacks were on this team for the last 3 years. Those quarterbacks threw 90% of every preseason pass over the last 3 years. Right there at a glance, looking at quarterbacks, you know which way you want to lean if these 2 teams play this preseason.
And you take it a step further. You actually show how many games that each quarterback played, last year in the preseason and what his stats were. I love the offensive and coordinator. You have them listed there, how many years they've been there, but then you can also see the 4 previous years. You could, see who was there and what they had, because that is a difference. And we're going to talk about more of those kind of things in another video when we actually give you some tips on handicapping preseason football. But you also have the head coaches straight up records and against the spread records broken down for each of the last 4 seasons, which is, instrumental, because there's some coaches that just don't care at all about preseason football. One of the pages I printed out was the Pittsburgh Steelers, obviously, here talking. And Mike Tomlin, he's a guy, his job's secure. I mean, the Steelers, there's never pressure on a head coach. I'm 55 years old, and I've only witnessed 3 coaches that I can remember, for the organization. So much stability there. So there's not the pressure for him to win in the preseason. And if you look at his record, 1-3 straight up, 1-4, 1-3, 0-4. But, and I think back to the Buffalo Bills and how they were always used to be back in the day with Marv Lee.
Indianapolis Colts the same way. And I'll tell you, on the flip side, though, you look at Washington and Minnesota, they want to win. Yeah. Mike Zimmer, 11-2 straight up in ATS the last 3 years. You can't bet against Minnesota. I mean, I don't care what the situation is. You may not bet on them, but when you have those quality teams that know they want to win, and a lot of it goes back to the ownership. The ownership wants teams to do well, or they don't care about the preseason, and that's an important thing, and that trickles down to the coaches and then to the team's performance as well.
Once again, great stuff. And guys, you can get this free. This is a $20 value, $19.95. If you go to Wager Talk right now, you can download it for free. And again, kudos to Ralph. This is why we brought him on board, is the content that he can provide for our viewers. And guys, if you're not downloading it, and you also have the daily pitch for baseball that's available every day for free, just head over to wagertalk.com and pick it up. And don't forget that baseball every day. And guys, remember, each and every Friday at Wager Talk, it's Flashback Friday. You can get any pick at Wager Talk for just $7. Check it out each and every Friday, Flashback Friday at wagertalk.com. We'll be back with more here at Wager Talk.